What mandatory company event no one attended? What happened to them? Story 1. They called it Mandatory Volunteer Day, which is how you know it was going to be a mess. I'm payroll, so I saw the numbers before anyone else. A Saturday 5K that didn't qualify for overtime because it's charity, plus a suggested $100 donation automatically deducted unless you opted out through a form that mysteriously didn't exist. The CEO promised local press would be there to celebrate our culture of giving. Saturday came. Not a single person from our company showed, except the C-suite in matching tees. The race director was livid. The CEO was livider. Monday morning, HR drafted mass final written warnings. My inbox filled with panic. People were pulling screenshots of the original invite. No location or agenda, just be there. Here's where it turned. The charity emailed me asking why we hadn't forwarded employee donations. Donations? I dug into the ledger. The donations were coded to marketing. Then I found a reimbursement request from the CEO for custom tents, step and repeat banners, and, my favorite, a celebration brunch for key donors, aka his golf buddies. I forwarded everything to the charity's director with a polite note that it looked like we'd redirected funds. The charity publicly thanked us on Instagram for withdrawing from a private branding event and allowing funds to be used for the children's program instead. Cue comment section. Someone posted the auto-deduction memo. Another posted an email threatening discipline for volunteering elsewhere. Reporters called. Our CEO posted a long LinkedIn screed about civic duty. That lasted 4 hours, until the Attorney General's office announced a look into coerced contributions and misallocated charitable funds. The write-ups vanished. We got paid for the Saturday we didn't attend, apparently training time per council. The CEO resigned to spend time with family the day the AG subpoena landed. The new interim wrote an email about rebuilding trust, the part nobody mentions. The charity invited employees, not executives, to the rescheduled 5K. This time it wasn't mandatory. We showed up anyway, and every kid's registration fee had anonymous company accountant listed as sponsor. Story 2. I worked nights at a refrigerated warehouse. Single dad, 2 kids rotating weekends. Our manager decided we needed mandatory morale, which translated to a midnight bonfire, team bonding out back on the loading dock in January. No heaters, no pay, no childcare. The kicker? Everyone had to bring a log to symbolize shared burden. I brought a screenshot of the weather advisory instead. We didn't go. None of us. The group text lit up with pictures of empty pallets and our manager's solitary camp chair. He sent a mass message at 12:13 a.m. Write-ups tomorrow for non-compliance. The next day, he had a stack of disciplinary forms ready. He quoted page numbers from the handbook that didn't exist. Our union rep, yeah, we were still pre-vote but had support, told us to clock in, accept nothing, and keep working. Around noon, a safety inspector walked in. Someone had tipped them off about the plan to bring 50 people onto an icy dock with open flame next to R-22 cylinders. They asked to see the event permit. The manager said it was private. The inspector said it was illegal. 2 hours later, County Risk Management was there measuring the distance between the bonfire area and a pallet of ethanol hand sanitizer. The manager tried to pivot. He claimed it was just a photo op, and that attendance wasn't technically mandatory. Then our rep pulled up the Facebook post his wife had written. Hubby's making his lazy workers come out at midnight or get fired, finally showing them who's boss. The inspector took a screenshot. By Friday, corporate had suspended the manager pending investigation. The write-ups were shredded in front of us by HR, probably the most satisfying paper snow I've ever seen. The county levied fines for unsafe assembly. We got a memo clarifying that off-hour events would be compensated at time and a half with 10 days' notice and on-site childcare stipends. The union vote passed the next month by a landslide. The manager? He posted on LinkedIn about cancel culture ruining leadership and then quietly disappeared from the platform. We still joke that the only log he contributed was the one that sank his career. Story 3. first-year associate at a mid-size firm. A senior partner scheduled a mandatory client retention retreat at his vineyard on the first weekend of my sister's wedding. He said we could Zoom into the ceremony between sessions. The invite said, "Mandatory for all billables." The calendar flag, optional, that mattered later. Half the associates didn't go. I didn't either. Monday, the partner stormed through the bullpen, red with the kind of anger you only see in depositions. He announced performance reviews were accelerated, and bonuses would reflect collegial commitment. That afternoon, we all got emails summoning us to HR with copies of our supposed refusal to attend. Then paralegal Jenny, absolute legend, wandered into my office with a flash drive. "I was asked to clean up metadata on the invite," she said. It felt dirty. The ICS file showed a creation time of optional and a later edit to add the word mandatory in the text body. We went to HR with this and got the usual, "We'll look into it." The partner slapped me with a poor review the next day anyway, citing insubordination. So I lawyered up, not to sue the firm, but to request an internal arbitration we were entitled to. The hearing felt like a mini-trial. Partner swaggered in with printouts of emails where he clearly said mandatory. My counsel asked to admit the calendar file. Jenny testified about being told to make it look like it was mandatory all along. Then my lawyer asked a simple question. If attendance was mandatory, why was billable time not authorized? The partner responded, "It was team building." The arbitrator raised an eyebrow. Final twist. The Vineyard LLC's registered agent was the partner's brother. Our firm had represented a competitor in a land dispute months prior, meaning the partner had just compelled subordinates to attend a paid event at a business with a conflict. The arbitrator recommended a formal reprimand, the bad reviews were voided, and HR sent a policy update. No discipline tied to unpaid, off-hours events. The partner took an indefinite sabbatical. I attended my sister's wedding without a laptop and, for the first time since law school, danced like I hadn't mortgaged my spine for billables. Story 4. I was the outside event planner who learned the hard way what culture camp means in startup speak. A unicorn wannabe booked me for a 3-day off-site in the woods. Ropes courses, trust falls, dawn-cold plunges, the works. The CEO labeled it mandatory in Slack with a smiley face. I booked cabins, catering, permits, and a mindfulness coach who charged a cancellation fee the size of a used car. 2 days before the event, an engineer DM'd me from an anonymous account. "Heads up, no one's coming." I assumed exaggeration until I joined a public Slack channel titled Mandatory My Butt, with 300 employees trading screenshots of missed payroll. Then the CEO's message, "We can't pay you Friday, but we can invest in our culture." They were staging a no-show to force the board to address payroll. Day 1. I arrived at a perfectly set, perfectly empty camp. The CEO pulled up in a branded Sprinter van and asked where everyone was. I told him, "At their desks, demanding pay." He swore, demanded I salvage the vibe, and left. I sent the final invoice. Accounting ghosted me. I filed in small claims. The company's lawyer argued I failed to execute a successful event, therefore no final payment. I brought the contract, payment not contingent on turnout. I performed all pre-event obligations. Then I submitted a printout of a public Instagram story from the CEO's wife enjoying our family cabin, so grateful to the company that keeps us flourishing, which was the exact retreat I had rented through a Shell LLC. The court clerk squinted at the parcel number on my permit and the one in her caption, match. Turned out the Shell LLC belonged to the CEO's brother. My invoices had been routed through it at a 30% property management fee. The judge leaned back and said, "So you stiffed the vendor and paid your brother. Judgment for me plus fees." Employees got their back pay 2 weeks later when the board replaced the CEO. The engineer who had messaged me sent a final note. "We're doing a voluntary picnic next month. No ropes, just food. I comped the ice cream truck." Story 5, retail, national chain. Our district manager announced a mandatory midnight rally to kick off back-to-school sales. Attendance required, no overtime. Bring your most inspirational customer story. I manage the closing shift. Half my team also works second jobs. The group chat immediately became a triage line. Childcare, bus routes, safety after midnight. Our DM replied with a smiley and, "Winners find a way." Nobody came, literally. He stood in the stockroom with a Bluetooth speaker and a balloon arch. He filmed himself clapping into a room of boxes and posted it to his private Facebook with the caption, "Some will never be great." An associate's aunt screenshotted it and put it on a neighborhood page. "This guy's making minimum wage kids meet at midnight off the clock." The post went viral enough that corporate PR called the store before my morning shift ended. The DM tried to discipline us with write-ups. He miscalculated our pettiness. One cashier stitched his video on TikTok with our time cards, empty after 10 p.m., and the section of the state labor site about mandatory meetings outside scheduled hours requiring compensation. Another associate's mom is a city council aide. She asked a labor inspector to clarify community concerns. By Friday, corporate sent an email with the subject line, "Clarifying after-hours guidelines." It read like a hostage note written by a lawyer. We were paid 4 hours each at time and a half for the scheduling confusion. The DM got reassigned to a field role, which is corporate for "go count clipboards in the warehouse until you quit." The emotional punch? 2 weeks later, our quietest cashier, kid who never talks, always draws dragons on receipt paper, left a sketch on the break room corkboard. It showed our DM cheerleading a stack of empty boxes labeled respect, safety, and pay, with arrows pointing to air. Under it, he wrote, "Mandatory nothing." The regional VP, visiting to mop up the PR mess, saw it, laughed, and bought that kid a tablet out of her own pocket. He didn't come to any more rallies. He went to art school. Story 6. I'm a respiratory therapist at a private hospital where administration thinks culture is a ventilator you can set and forget. They announced a mandatory gratitude circle on Sunday morning, off the clock, because a consulting firm said we lack joy alignment. We were told to wear pastel scrubs and bring a handwritten thank you to our favorite executive. Sunday is my custody day. I asked if I could Zoom. "In person only," HR replied, "so we can capture authentic energy." No one went. Not a single nurse, tech, or janitor. The cafeteria was fully decorated, macarons, balloon arch, a step and repeat with the CFO's face tiled like a wallpaper haunt. When admin realized the auditorium was empty, they pivoted fast, mass emails about failure to demonstrate mission values. The Monday schedule had 31 of us marked under review. Then the twist none of them saw, our hospital chaplain. The event was scheduled during an interfaith memorial she leads each month for patients who've died, a ceremony families rely on. She forwarded her calendar invite to the board's general inbox with a one-sentence note. Leadership booked a mandatory morale event over the space reserved for grief. One bereaved mother replied, all with her son's photo, and wrote, "This was supposed to be his morning." Replies piled in. Angry spouses, pastors, a city councilwoman who lost her father in our ICU. PR scrambled. Admin tried to claim a scheduling mix-up, but our unit secretary posted a screenshot of the email where the COO wrote, "Block the chapel. Optics are better in there." It got shared in a local Facebook group for caregivers. 24 hours later, a reporter called our union rep, yes, we were organizing quietly, and asked for comment. The hospital's board held an emergency meeting. By Friday, the COO retired effective immediately. The write-ups vanished, replaced by paid wellness hours and a stipend for childcare during any future training. The chaplain moved the memorial to an even bigger auditorium. The final punch, on the new stage, she placed the pastel step and repeat from Sunday as a backdrop. Families spoke their people's names loud, one by one, in front of a smiling CFO collage. The only authentic energy in that room was grief, and it was louder than any executive could bear. Story 7. My wife teaches at a charter school that behaves like a startup with detention slips. The founder scheduled a mandatory gala rehearsal on the night a tropical storm was forecast, insisting teachers practice their donor pitches in cocktail attire. No pay, no kids allowed. The PTA begged to reschedule. He posted on Slack, "If you want raises, you'll learn to sell." The storm hit early. Streets flooded. Nobody showed up except the founder, his brother, the head of advancement, and a violinist hired on Craigslist who played to a room of folding chairs and plastic sheeting. The next day, teachers found warning letters in their mailboxes. Failure to support fundraising vision. The founder didn't know two things. One, the district requires permits for after-hours assemblies, and two, our next-door neighbor works in the permitting office. She DM'd my wife a photo. The school's event application was stamped "denied," with notes about unsafe weather and no evacuation plan. The founder had held it anyway. Parents went feral. Someone made a TikTok. The violinist trudging through puddles with her case, overlaid with the founder's Slack quote and the denied permit screenshot. It snowballed. Local news ran a segment called "Gala in a Gale." The board called an emergency meeting. The brother resigned first. The founder posted a 9-paragraph Facebook apology that read like it had been focus grouped by mirrors. Punchline? The violinist, who got stiffed, Small claimed them and won. In discovery, her attorney requested communications related to the gala. That's how the teachers learned the founder had earmarked gala donations to reimburse himself for a strategic coaching weekend in Aspen. He was gone within a week, and the PTA ended up running the real fundraiser. Kids selling art they made in class for $5 apiece. They raised more than the gala's goal. One kid drew a soggy violin with the caption, "Play to the audience you have." Donors lined up. Story 8. Remote tech company here. Our CEO decided the future of Connection was a mandatory metaverse town hall on a Thursday night. We had to create avatars in an app that was still in beta and, per the invite, buy a $299 headset, reimbursed when cash flow stabilizes. I'm a QA lead and a single mom. No way I was buying hardware to hear a pep talk from a Polygon. Turns out a lot of people felt the same. Town hall night, the CEO's avatar spawned into a 500-person amphitheater alone, except for 3 product managers and a handful of confused interns rendered without legs. He posted a screenshot on LinkedIn with the caption, "Sometimes leadership is lonely." Comments were off. Next morning, HR sent notices of non-participation in strategic realignment and threatened PIPs. Our Slack exploded with gifs of headless avatars doing T-poses. Then finance dropped a bomb in all hands. A cash crunch and a bridge round contingent on employee engagement, which apparently meant attendance metrics for the Metaverse app. Metrics investors could see. They hadn't told us we were the KPI. Our staff attorney, yes, we're lucky, asked if the town hall recording existed. It did, because the platform auto-records. She requested access, and legal grudgingly complied. There was the CEO, pacing alone, muttering, "We just need the graph up." There was also a test clip from earlier where an exec coached him. "If no one shows, we can spin it as exclusive." She wrote a memo, mandating a purchase, threatening discipline for not making it, and using attendance to mislead investors. Bad cocktail. Someone leaked the memo to a partner at the Bridge Fund who had mentored her in law school. Hours later, the fund pulled its term sheet, pending clarity. The board locked the CEO's accounts and appointed an interim from Ops who'd been quietly paying vendors out of sequence to keep our servers on. What happened to the non-attenders? We got a calendar invite for a plain Zoom with the subject, "Tell us what actually helps." No headsets, no avatars. The interim opened with, "We need to earn back your trust." The punch. The Metaverse startup emailed later asking if we wanted to renew our enterprise license. The interim replied, "We only buy tools people use." We signed with a cheaper provider and got reimbursed for childcare. Immediately. Story 9. I'm an auditor hired by a manufacturing plant to review morale initiatives after a spike in turnover. Before I even arrive, the plant manager schedules a mandatory sunrise wellness fast for the entire line, 6 a.m. assembly, no breakfast, and a meditation led by his cousin, a clarity coach. He justifies it as safety through mindfulness. Union says absolutely not. He says he'll write anyone up. Day comes. Not a single operator shows. The only attendees are the manager, his cousin, and a local news stringer he invited to film Blue-Collar Enlightenment. He sends HR 74 disciplinary forms. HR forwards them to me, perhaps hoping I'll bless the purge. Instead, I ask for injury logs, overtime records, and any documented safety benefits from prior wellness days. There are no prior wellness days. There are, however, 3 heat exhaustion incidents and a lot of 12-hour shifts. Then I get the vendor contract. The Cousins LLC charges double the market rate for mindfulness facilitation and includes a clause for exposure boosts, extra fees if media is present. The clause is initialed by the manager. I request purchase approvals. He wrote his own. I ask accounts payable if the cousin has been paid before. She whispers, "Yes, for consulting during a shutdown." I compile the report with attachments and meet the owner, an old-school guy who built the place from 2 presses. He reads silently, then calls the plant floor on speaker. "I scheduled the fast," he says, "because I thought it would help. The room waits." Did it? A chorus of no. He hangs up and tells HR to rescind every write-up. He asks me what would help. I say fans, brakes, shade, a second water station. He approves all of it in the meeting. The cousin's contract? Terminated. The manager? Reassigned. Which turns out to mean severance and a non-disparagement. The twist came a month later. Production numbers didn't just recover, they beat last summer. The owner sent everyone a note. We tried enlightenment and got invoices. We tried water and shade and got results. P.S., he wrote, we'll have one more mandatory event. A paid barbecue with paid time on paid property with paid meat. Attendance was 100%. The Cousins sent an invoice for emotional exit processing. Accounts payable stapled my report to it and mailed it back. Story 10. Government contractor here. Our agency liaison insisted on a mandatory ethics parade down the main corridor, complete with sashes reading honesty, fairness, and respect. It was a photo op for a senator's visit. We were told to clap as the liaison pinned a medal on the senator for transparency. This would be hilarious if we weren't 6 months behind on reimbursements. We coordinated a quiet no-show. Everyone stayed in their cubicles, headsets on. The liaison and his 3 interns marched alone past framed posters about whistleblowing. He was furious, threatened to pull our contract. Our PM reminded him the SOW didn't include parades. He forwarded a clause about required stakeholder ceremonies. Our legal lead highlighted the part that read, as mutually agreed. That afternoon, the senator's advance team asked for headcount photos. The liaison sent a tight shot of himself shaking hands with cardboard cutouts from the break room. No, really. Someone dragged them out of the storage closet. The intern who took the photo DM'd me the outtakes. The liaison's sash upside down, a cardboard astronaut with respect pinned to its helmet. The intern, who was on a student visa, terrified to rock boats, asked if it was okay to share concerns. I connected her to the agency's Inspector General hotline and explained protections. She anonymized the tip, sent the photos, and mentioned the 6-month reimbursement lag. The IG opened a quick review before the senator arrived. They discovered the liaison had diverted our reimbursement funds to rush a remodel of his office for the visit. New furniture, a glass wall, a donor display. The ethics parade budget line was real. Branded sashes, medals, and a $12,000 integrity arch no one ever ordered. Day of the visit, the senator's staff abruptly shifted the agenda to a round table with engineers doing the actual work. The liaison was unavailable. Translation, escorted out. Our checks landed the following week with interest. The intern got hired by our company the day her contract ended. The punch? The Integrity Arch arrived late and got delivered to our loading dock by mistake. We set it up over the recycling bins. Every Friday, as we toss shredded paperwork, somebody rings the Arch's little bell. It plays a tinny jingle labeled Ethics Theme. We clap, not for optics, but because the check's cleared and the intern's badge now opens every door. Story 11. I'm the facilities guy, the ghost who knows every ceiling tile and which outlets actually work. Our bank's COO scheduled a mandatory family picnic on a Sunday. Attendance tracked by badge tap at the park gate, no overtime. Bring your loved ones to see where value is created. HR framed it as culture. Everyone heard it as free marketing photos with your kids. Custody schedules, church, elder care, none of that mattered to them. We didn't go. Not tell a friend, we didn't go. No one went. I swung by the park at noon to meet the caterer. My job, unfortunately. Field was empty except for a stage, rented grills, and a 10-foot banner with stock photo families smiling under a logo that wasn't ours. Some vendor had printed the wrong brand. Our COO arrived in golf clothes, saw the ghost town, and called me non-creative. Then he ordered me to tap his badge on the gate reader 5 times to simulate leaders arriving. Monday, HR had attendance counseling queued. Then the caterer sent a demand letter. 500 boxed meals had been opened and left in the sun because someone, COO, insisted the ambiance required lids off. City health inspectors saw the leftovers still there when they picked up a noise complaint. They filed a report noting improper food handling and unpermitted amplified sound. Guess whose name was on the permit line? Mine. Because the COO never finished the application and told me, just put your credentials. I thought I was finished, but the park's insurer called about a claim the COO had filed. Weather-related cancellation. Sunny day. Their adjuster asked for my photos. I had time-stamped shots of blue skies and an untouched bounce house. If he'd lied to insurance with my name on a permit, I was not going down alone. I forwarded the photos to legal and HR with a polite copy-all note. Please advise RE accuracy. Turned out the insurer also covered our vendor. They looped in the city, who looped in our risk officer, who looped in the audit committee. Within 48 hours, the COO announced he was stepping away to focus on family. HR Mass retracted the write-ups, reclassified the picnic hours as administrative standby, and paid everyone 4 hours for the disruption. The punch? A week later, the bank's intranet banner still showed that stock photo family. The wrong logo? The wrong people. Someone finally replaced it with a picture of the empty field and the words, "We learned something. Real families have real schedules. Future events will be paid, weekday and optional underneath." An anonymous comment. Also, put the lids back on. Story 12. Was the brand's social media manager. Our apparel startup announced a mandatory heritage wall unveiling on a Saturday. The wall was a mosaic of every employee's face in the shape of our logo. HR never asked consent, just scraped our headshots and our Instagram photos. The plan? Invite a micro-influencer who'd tag the wall. We'd clap, investors would see community. No one came. Not design, not warehouse, not retail. The influencer showed, took a few moody shots of an empty showroom, and left. Monday, the CEO demanded we issue non-compliance notices. Legal said it was fine because attendance is a condition of culture. I asked legal if scraping our personal Instagram photos without consent was a condition of culture too. They told me to stay in my lane. Then the DM hit my brand inbox. Take down my face. It was a woman I didn't recognize. She sent the exact tile, her image pulled from a stock site where we'd bought a diverse office bundle last year. Her license forbade resale or use in logos. We had turned her likeness into our brand mark. She was also a journalist. She tweeted, "Company uses stock models as employees on Heritage Wall. Threatens actual employees for not attending." It got legs, fast. The CEO posted a Notes app apology. We celebrate community. Comments pointed out our CTO had cropped out a watermarked ear in one panel. The model's lawyer sent a demand for removal and damages. Our investors requested a call. The board asked for a root cause post-mortem. I wrote it. It said, 1. Consent. 2. Pay for events. 3. Stop lying. I expected to be fired. Instead, the journalist asked to interview someone on background. I declined, but I did forward her our internal invite where the CEO called it mandatory, plus a Slack thread where ops begged for childcare stipends and were ignored. The piece ran with the headline, Heritage Without People. Sales dipped. The board asked the CEO to transition to visionary. He transitioned out. The twist? We rebuilt the wall with actual employee consent and an artist from the warehouse who paints murals on his nights off. The unveiling was a weekday, paid, with families welcome. We left one tile blank, framed in gold leaf. The plaque says, reserved for whoever asks before using your face, Story 13. I'm a junior fundraiser at an international NGO. Our director scheduled a mandatory solidarity march to align with a partner protest. GPS pings required to prove attendance. People begged off for safety reasons. Administrators said, be brave. We all knew the subtext. The director was interviewing for a bigger job and needed photos. No one went. Staff stayed home. Some volunteered elsewhere. The director and 2 deputies marched with a rented banner and a paid photographer. Monday, he issued performance improvement plans, citing failure to embody mission. Our operations manager resigned on the spot. She'd been quietly covering security plans for staff for months and had warned him extensively. Then donors started asking why our official account posted photos with 0 staff identifiable. Just long-lensed shots of strangers. A major foundation requested our risk assessment for the event. We didn't have one. The director emailed me to assemble one retroactively. I refused. He replied, we all do what's necessary. IBCC'd our legal counsel. An anonymous tip hit a watchdog blog with the subject, Mandated Activism and GPS Surveillance. The post included screenshots of the GPS requirement and a redacted Slack thread where a staffer disclosed that her ex, who had violated a restraining order, was on the protest's organizing committee. She'd asked to skip for safety. The director had responded, optics matter more than comfort. Donors bailed, board convened. While they deliberated, our shelter program director, the quietest badass I know, walked into the meeting with a binder labeled Risk. Inside, every ignored warning, every rejected safety budget, every time we'd asked for transport stipends. She ended with the GPS vendor contract the director signed to track engagement. The clause about retaining location data for marketing made the room go cold. The board fired him. They issued a public commitment. No GPS tracking for events, no mandatory protest attendance, and paid time off for civic engagement of an employee's choosing. The emotional punch? The shelter director forwarded me a photo from a different march, one she attended on her own time, with our clients leading the line and staff scattered safely along the sidewalks. The caption, Solidarity is Consent, Story 14. Dishwasher here. Family-owned restaurant group, very churchy. The owner announced a mandatory prayer breakfast at 6 a.m. Sunday in the biggest dining room, uniforms required, no pay, because it's devotion. He posted a verse and a promise that anyone who came would be blessed with favor on the next schedule. Muslim line cook asked if there'd be space to pray Fajr. Owner said the event was Christ-centric. Everyone went silent. We didn't show. All 6 locations. No one. The owner rolled in with his pastor, a gospel trio, and a videographer. He sent managers a group text mid-hymn. Names of absentees equals grounds for cuts. Monday, the schedule dropped. The Muslim line cook got 1 shift. A single mother got none. I got weekends only. We took photos. I called a number a cousin gave me. State Civil Rights Commission. They asked for the invite, the verse-laden memo, and the schedule changes. 2 weeks later, investigators walked in, asked for the owner, and requested payroll records and all communications about the event. He tried to preach about values. They asked him to stop. While they were there, the pastor posted a Facebook rant about persecution. Comments turned into Yelp reviews. Then the kicker: the group's largest vendor saw the news and paused deliveries because their contract has a morals clause. Suddenly, our walk-ins were empty, and the owner was apologizing in a staff-wide email to my diverse team family. He offered a make-up reflection time for all faiths and none. We declined. Settlement came. Back pay, reinstated hours, a non-discrimination training run by a community group, and written policy. No mandatory religious events, ever. The owner signed. The pastor posted another rant, then deleted it. The punch landed quietly. The single mom, who'd lost shifts, worked the first lunch after the policy change. A church friend of the owner sat at the counter and asked for extra syrup, snide voice. She poured it and said, calm as a prayer, "My God doesn't need a time clock." The room went still. The owner looked at the floor. We went back to work. Story 15. Marketing assistant at a consumer electronics brand. Our CMO scheduled a mandatory brand dance challenge at 5 a.m. on a Wednesday for a TikTok launch. Viral or bust, she wrote. No pay, no transit stipends, NDAS signed because choreography was proprietary. She hired a choreographer and a ring light army. We all stared at our alarms and went back to sleep. At dawn, she filmed herself dancing with 3 interns and posted it anyway, claiming hundreds of teammates showed up before sunrise. She added blurred silhouettes from a stock pack to fake a crowd. The video did numbers, but not the kind she wanted. A former employee stitched it with our empty parking lot on live view, public city cam, and the post time. Comments: did your hundreds come invisible? We got internal memos about disciplinary actions for non-participation. Then legal pinged the CMO. Competitors were hinting at misleading marketing to investors because the CMO had emailed the board, "We mobilized 60% of staff at 5 a.m. Engagement unmatched." That email was discoverable because she'd CC'd our outside PR firm. The twist: our video lead, quiet, brilliant, tired, had warned her. He'd sent a private message: "I won't deepfake attendance." She threatened his job. He archived the message, the draft composites, and the request to paint in bodies. When the board asked for a timeline, he provided files and metadata. He also showed them the churn on our creator partners since the CMO began forcing unpaid cameos, and the invoice from a TikTok farm the CMO had trialed to juice comments. Board asked the CEO if he'd known. He hadn't. He looked like someone who'd just realized the fire he smelled was his own hair. The CMO resigned to pursue authenticity ventures. HR retracted the write-ups and paid everyone who was scheduled at 5 a.m. 2 hours of call-in time as an apology. The choreographer got paid in full. The interns got converted to part-time with benefits. The emotional punch? A month later, the video lead posted a simple clip. Our warehouse crew unboxing returned devices, repairing what could be fixed, and labeling the rest for donation. No music, no ring lights, no bodies painted in, just hands, careful and real. It didn't go viral. It went somewhere better, straight to a classroom where a kid opened a refurbished tablet, grinned, and mouthed, "Mine." We saw it because the teacher tagged us. That's when the CEO wrote, "From now on, mandatory means we'll pay you to do what matters. Dancing optional." Story 16. QA here at a medical software company where weekends are when innovation happens. Our CTO scheduled a mandatory patent sprint for Saturday-Sunday, 8 a.m., 8 p.m., with bagels and exposure as compensation. To RSVP, you had to click through a DocuSign that reassigned any invention arising from collaboration, including off-hours prior art, to the company, retroactively if your repo had date slippage. People joked it was an IP vacuum. I didn't sign. Neither did anyone else on my team. Saturday morning, the CTO opened the Zoom to a checkerboard of blank squares. He slacked, disappointed in your lack of founder mindset. then went silent. Monday, HR issued developmental warnings. Meanwhile, I noticed the code in a newly opened internal PR looked weirdly perfect. Variable names read like a textbook. License headers were missing. One function comment literally said, "As per Stack Overflow, answer 5,463,729. I ran a grep across the dependency, found a one-to-one match with a GPLv3 medical imaging library, copied into our private repo without attribution. If you don't speak license, mixing that unpermitted code into ours could force us to open source the whole product or get sued into paste. I pinged our security channel, crickets. Then a contractor DM'd me. During the empty patent sprint, the CTO hired a code farm to prototype features and told them to move fast. They moved fast into violation. I wrote a calm memo. Observed license contamination, likely via weekend work product. I attached diffs and timestamps. Legal pulled me into a war room. The CTO insisted it was reference only. I showed the commit history replayed from a subfolder named _scratch GPL. He asked who had access to the security channel. Everyone who didn't come to your sprint, I said. The GC inhaled through her teeth. Board emergency. Release put on hold. The contractor confessed, with emails where the CTO literally wrote, "Just strip the headers." Our regulatory submission, built on that code, had to be withdrawn and resubmitted. Brutal, expensive, but survivable. The CTO resigned to pursue pure research. He posted on LinkedIn about courage to ship. Comments were off. What happened to those of us who didn't attend? The warnings vanished. The DocuSign waiver got replaced with something sane. Inventor bonuses, time and a half, and an IP clause limited to event hours. They gave me an internal award for protecting patients and product integrity. The punch? My name's now on a real patent, filed during paid hours with a team that showed up because we wanted to, not because a sprint threatened to swallow our weekends and our past. Story 17. I'm the Marina Night Guard. A fintech startup rented our biggest charter boat for a mandatory leadership voyage. Friday night cruise, sunset values ceremony, white attire encouraged. The CEO sent an invite that said, "Attendance is non-negotiable, presence is ownership." They didn't negotiate life jackets. Our captain called me twice. They want to take the top deck after dark with an LED arch and a fog machine. No one came. The dock at 7 p.m. was just the CEO, 2 executives, and a filmmaker with a drone. The CEO paced in linen, yelling into AirPods about entitlement. He told the captain to shove off anyway because vibes don't wait. 10 minutes later, the boat scraped a sandbar on the inlet where everyone local knows to keep right. The fog machine tripped the low-visibility alarm, and the Coast Guard pinged us. We could see the LED arch, values, tilted like a neon halo over a very dumb saint. Back on land, the CEO threatened to fire the entire culture. Saturday morning, he posted a slow-mo clip of himself on the bow, arms wide, captioned, "Steering into the future." Comments. "Why is the boat not moving?" "Because she was stuck, my guy." Someone from the harbor master's office, not me, swear, sent the time-stamped rescue log to a local business blog. Leadership Voyage got renamed Sandbar Summit in the comments. Investors read blogs. Monday, employees received write-ups for absence from strategic offsite. Then the twist. The charter contract had a clause that voided our insurance coverage if the operator knowingly exceeded guest capacity or obstructed navigation with special effects. The arch fouled radar. The drone flew inside the harbor's restricted dome. The boat company's owner, my boss, prepared an invoice for damages and time. Our lawyer CC'd their board. In the board meeting, we hear things, docs have ears. The captain calmly explained that if the deck had been full of people dancing under a metal arch on a stuck boat, the liability would have been catastrophic. He ended with, "They didn't show. They saved you." The write-ups disappeared in seconds. The CEO stepped down to focus on product. Later that week, I watched the team, free, paid, optional, take a short, safe lunch cruise. No arch. life jackets for everyone. The punch was small and perfect. As they disembarked, one engineer looked at the captain and said, "Thanks for not letting us be content." The captain nodded toward the open water. "Wind's there every day," he said. "Pick a day you actually want to be on it." Story 18. Corporate wellness manager here. Our insurer offered premium credits if we hit engagement milestones. Our CFO announced a mandatory 20,000-step sunrise walk on the hottest day of the year. Attendance verified by our wellness app's GPS, which we'd never audited for accuracy or privacy. No overtime. Bring water if you want. Facilities begged to reschedule. CFO said heat was a growth metaphor. At 5 a.m., nobody showed except 2 execs and me. I walked the loop twice, watched the app crash, then watched the CFO manually enter 20,001 on his own dashboard. He said, "I'll bulk mark the team complete so we keep the credit." I took a screenshot and a breath. By noon, write-ups for non-participation hit inboxes. An associate fainted reading hers. We'd had a heat advisory alert that morning. The twist came from a place I didn't expect, the insurer's data science team. They flagged a sudden spike of perfect 20,001-step entries, all within the same minute from our office IP. They emailed our HR director asking for clarification regarding potential data manipulation. HR pinged the CFO. He replied, "We're just fixing a sync issue." He wasn't. The insurer asked for raw logs. Our IT sent them without edits, bless them. Audit revealed the app vendor stored precise location histories. Buried inside, employees who had opted out still had ghost profiles created by batch upload. The CFO had flipped attendance true on people who never consented. Legal's face went white. Insurers hate fraud, regulators hate privacy violations, and plaintiffs' attorneys love both. Emergency meeting. The CFO tried to pin it on me. I slid my screenshots across the table. Quiet, measured. "We're out of compliance with both the credit program and state privacy law," I said. The insurer rescinded our credits but offered to keep our plan if we self-reported to the regulator and implemented real consent. The board chose survival. The CFO retired. What happened to the non-attenders? The write-ups became apology credits on paychecks. We rebuilt wellness as opt-in, paid time with fans, shade, and cold towels. The first event was a 9 a.m. stretch class led by a physical therapist who said, "Listen to your body," the punch. That associate who fainted, she led a hydration training later and finished with, "Wellness isn't a metric. It's a boundary." Everyone clapped, like we'd finally taken a real breath.